Hi everyone, and thanks very much for joining today's webinar. We'll just give it a couple of minutes to let the people log on, and we'll be back shortly. Okay, I think we're ready to go. So again, hi everyone, and thanks very much for tuning in today for the fourth and final webinar in our Touchpoint webinar series, which is brought to you by EEX Group. Today, we'll be focusing on the range of information and analytic tools, which will be available through Touchpoint. And the presentation today is relatively short and should last approximately 20 minutes. Then we'll have the opportunity to answer any questions you may have. As always, if you have a question, please submit it via the Q&A function in Teams, and we'll make sure to answer them once the presentation is concluded. I'd now like to hand over to Richard Heath, who will be giving today's webinar.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for the introduction, Michael. As you said, today is the final webinar in our Touchpoint series, and we're going to discuss the data analytics and also the connectivity options for Touchpoint. So if we click over to the agenda on the next slide, we'll have a look at what's coming up today. So we'll start off, as always, with a brief introduction to Touchpoint for anyone who is tuning in for the first time and wonders what this new platform is and why we're doing it and what the benefits are. We're then going to talk through some of the data analytics functions on the system. I want to cover some of the features coming up in the roadmap, the next features and functions that will launch into the system, and of course then talk about the connectivity that we have available with Touchpoint and give some examples on how users can access that and the use cases that there can be for it. After that, we're going to talk about just what you need to do to get ready. We did cover this in the first webinar, but that's a while ago now, and with the launch coming up in just over a week, I think it's a good idea just to go through the steps that everyone needs to get ready for Touchpoint on launch day. We'll then talk a little bit about what we've got left in terms of our publication of the platform, cover the contact details as always, and then, as Michael said, we'll move on to the Q&A. I think last week we had around 30 questions, which was loads, so let's see if we can break that record today. So if we move on to the next slide, I'll do the introduction to the system. Touchpoint, it's our new web-based software application for EEX Group, and it's designed specifically to facilitate trade registration to EEX markets. So it's a platform that really captures all of the deals arranged in the OTC space. For the first time, it's bringing together all EEX asset classes in a single platform. It's feature rich. We think it's very intuitive to use, and we've shown that in the demos over the last few weeks, and it allows users to really control all parts of their OTC workflow. So if we go on to the next slide, we'll have a look at the benefits for those particular users. So Touchpoint really caters for three different types of users: the brokers who are organising the trades, the clearing members who are of course a vital part of the trade flow, and the traders themselves. For brokers, the platform is really all about the trade registration functions. We looked at those in detail in the second webinar in the series. For the clearing members, the major advantage is the ability to apply pre-trade risk controls to their agency client business. and get a live view of exactly what's happening for those clients. And for the traders, it's mainly about the information in the system. They can see everything that's being booked on behalf of their organization, and a number of other tools and analytics functions, some of which we'll discuss today. In addition to the front end for Touchpoint, which, as I've said, we think is intuitive and easy to use, you can also connect directly to the platform via API. And as I said, we'll go through some of the use cases for why people might want to do that in today's webinar. So let's move on to the next slide and we'll start having a look at some of the data analytics. So unlike the last two webinars, unfortunately, I will not show you a live demo of the system today. That's because all of the data analytics in Touchpoint work on the trade flow which is passing through the platform. And of course, 1 week before the launch, there is not that trade flow to look at. We have the previous incarnations of the platform, but we don't have this on Touchpoint as it's not going live just yet. So I'll talk you through what is there. So to begin with, at the very high level, we have anonymized market information for the whole market. And of course, there's also the information directly linked to each individual entity. So the market analytics functions, they cover, again, at the high level, things like trade tapes, market volumes, and most actively traded contracts. And then you're able to drill down really on any part of that information to get a more detailed view. So you could look at the price development per contract. You can see all of the traded prices. You can see average daily traded prices, as well as candlestick charts. And you can look at how the volume of those contracts has developed as well. In addition to the broad market information, there is, of course, your own firm's proprietary trading information in the platform, and you can get a detailed view of that. So you can look at all of the trades in which your organization is involved in. If you're a trader, of course, that will be your own trading activity. If you're a broker, that will be all the trades that your firm has arranging. And for clearing members, of course, it is all of the trades for which their clearing account at ECC is being used and their clients are performing. So you can drill down into that. You can see user specifics as well. You can see, again, the most actively traded contracts, the price activity, and exactly, who's doing what at which times. And all of this information is also available to export off the platform as well. You can see the trading history, and you can, of course, see your business with other entities within the trade chain. So if you're a trader, you can see exactly what you're doing with each individual broker that you use. And of course, you can see if you had more than one clearing member, what you were doing with the different clearing members as well. So that covers the data analytics function. Really, it's something that you kind of have to dive into, drill down on and use. It's an area of the platform that we would like to grow and develop in the future. And so it's something that we're very keen to hear feedback on. Our entire roadmap for the features and functions in the platform is led by the needs of the users. And so any feedback on any aspect is something that we really welcome, because that's what enables us to develop and continue to develop the features in the system. So talking about that, let's move on to the next slide and we'll see some of the things which are coming up. So we want to, as I say, continue to develop features and functions in the platform. We're not necessarily trying to replace other systems out there, but we do think there's a basic level of different analytics tools that we can have in the platform that will still add value to the vast majority of the users on there. One of the first ones of these is a basic margin analysis function. So if you tuned in last week and saw the Risk Manager demo, you would know that the system already calculates margin estimations for client portfolios, because that's what allows clearing members to set pre-trade risk limits on a margin basis. And so what we're very keen to do as soon as we can in the near future is to put that into a standalone part of the platform so that users can get a margin estimation for individual trades, maybe options, strategies, or for a simulated portfolio. and we're quite keen to bring that to market as soon as we can. Other features and functions that we have in the pipeline are things like the options pricer. So this is a function aimed directly at the traders that use the platform. This has now been fully tested by a number of organizations in a beta version. It's quite a simple tool, but it allows users the ability to price individual options or strategies, and they can do that on a couple of different calculation methods. They can use the standard Black 76 or the Turnbull and Wakeman approximation, which is appropriate for some of the other asset classes in the platform. So again, this is an area where we think we can add some value to some of the users in the platform, but it's something that as we roll out, we would like feedback on to see if it's really adding a lot of value or whether it's something we need to continue to evolve to meet your needs. There are, of course, more features and functions coming up in the pipeline. I don't want to release them all today. We do have a dedicated roadmap for the system, and we're looking at releases throughout the rest of this year. So we'll be able to provide an updated timeline on when you can see and use these functions. So let's move on to the next slide and talk a little bit about the connectivity for the system. So we have seen now a couple of times in the demos the front end of the system. That comes, as we've talked about, with a standard single factor authentication login. You can change that to be two-factor authentication if that's what you or your organization needs. And of course, we can also arrange for the system to be IP locked so that you can only log into it from a specific terminal within your office. But in addition to all of the functionality that the front end provides, we're very keen to offer that same functionality via a direct electronic connection via our Fix API service. And as I said, a couple of the use cases why people might and have in the past subscribed to this could be for taking information outbound from the platform. So we have a number of users who subscribe to a kind of live market information feed. So they take the trade tapes directly from the platform via the API for use in their own applications. A more kind of maybe sophisticated is the right word, use of that is for trading entities who use the platform who want to perform a trade capture of the deals that go through there. So again, they connect directly to the API, and whenever a deal is registered on their behalf, it's sent not just to EEX and onwards to ECC for clearing, but is also STP directly to that organization's back office. And we find for the organizations that use that, that creates a great deal of efficiency when it comes to their end of day processes, when they need to do reconciliations, because they already have in their middle or back office systems this record of everything that's being booked on their behalf, and there's no manual entry for that to go through those processes. So again, that's something that we have quite a number of organizations subscribe to now and provides a lot of value. A further use could be a connection for inbound trades capture. So as well as registering deals which have been arranged OTC through the platform itself, it could be that you want to conclude those in your own proprietary system, submit them to Touchpoint for then onward submission to EEX. And that's something that the platform is perfectly able to do as well. It's obvious, I think, that the more sophisticated the integration, the more complicated it is, but everything from the platform is fully documented and available, and we can perform all of these straight away. So we move on to the next slides. Let's have a look at where we are in terms of the timeline and what you need to do to get ready. So Touchpoint will be holding the official launch event next Thursday on the 8th of September, and the first logins to the new live system will be on Monday, the 12th of September. So what do you need to do before that date? Well, for the launch itself, we're running in the background a migration of all of the data in the current systems which are already available, and that is the ClearTech portal, the Japan Power portal, and the KV Tech portal, and they will form the kind of baseline for Touchpoint. So all of that information will be collected up and migrated on your behalf. There's no action for people there. In terms of the different user groups for clearing members, we have now sent out just a little over a week ago information to all of the clearing members showing exactly what that account static will look like for them, the account static that will be migrated over, and we're in the process of fine-tuning that with any feedback. So if you have seen that email and you do have feedback to provide, please do that for us. That would be very helpful. If it's something that you're not able to provide or do, then there's nothing to worry about. That static is related to the trading activity, which is already happening today in the applications we have. So once it's migrated over, it will continue to be business as usual. It's just an opportunity to tidy anything up. For the other types of organizations, if you're already a user, there's no specific action that you need to do before the launch of Touchpoint. We do have now a number of new users getting ready to use the system. So if you are a new user, please contact our team in Singapore, and their contact details will be available at the end, and they will begin to get you set up on the platform and ready for its launch. And as I say, I'm very happy that we do have a number of new users signing up for the platform over the last couple of weeks. On the launch day itself, you will need to log in to the new platform. There will be a redirection site from any of the existing services that you use. And once you log in, you will be prompted for security reasons to reset your password. And part of that process is to click sign the electronic user license agreement in exactly the same way that you did when you first began using any of the existing platform services that we had, as I said, the ClearTech platform, the Japan Power Portal, or the KB Tech portal. So that's it on what you need to do to get ready. All of the existing risk limits that are used in the different systems will be migrated over. Anyone who is already connected via the API, that will all be handled in the migration as well. We're trying to make sure that the migration is as light touch for all the users as possible. Okay, let's move to the next slide. So as I said, this is the fourth and final webinar in our series. We will next week have the official launch event for Touchpoint, which will be on Thursday the 8th in London at the NED as part of the broader events that EEX is holding that day, and invites have gone out for that already. We'd love to see as many of you there as possible, and of course also like to see you at our evening event that day as well. If you missed any of the previous webinars, we recorded them all. All of them are available to view again on EEX TV, so you can go through all of the details about Touchpoint, the trade registration demo, the risk manager demo, or indeed watch again today's webinar. If you need to contact us, let's move to the next slides, please. For any questions at all, if they be general inquiries on the platform or just anything you want to know, please contact me directly and I'll be happy to help you. Also happy to do individual demos of the platform, of any aspects of the platform, if that's something that you would like to do. For any information on the user access to the platform, the account setup, the static, anything like that, please contact our office in Singapore and contact Ray Ang there directly. And for media and communications inquiries, please contact Mr. Michael Mervyn Jones. So I think that covers all of our slides for today. It's a slightly shorter presentation than the previous weeks, but that means we have plenty of time to go to the questions. So if we move on to the next slide, Michael, how many questions do we have today?
We have quite a few. Thanks for that walkthrough, Rich, and thanks to everybody who has submitted a question so far, who has contacted me on my own personal teams and has contacted me via email over the last couple of weeks, especially following last week's webinar, there was quite a few more questions. I'm going to kick off. I think we've got 12 so far, Rich, so I'm going to kick off straight away. You talked about the new features in the roadmap. When will the new features be available?
Well, so we hope to have them available very soon. The only reason why I don't want to commit to a date today is because, as you can imagine, the development teams are extremely busy focusing on the actual launch in just over a week's time. As soon as that has been completed successfully, we'll then look at the roadmap for the releases for the rest of this year. So I won't commit to a date just yet, but we're working on having some of these things available in the fourth quarter of this year. So it's not as if we're saying we'll build this in 2025 or something. This is the immediate roadmap for the platform.
So not too long to wait then, right?
Not too long to wait.
Okay. What is the process for connecting to the platform via API?
Okay. So to begin that process, we're best to probably contact me directly. I can then put you in touch with the developers of the system. We have several documents that fully describe the different API connections that we can provide, and then from that point on, the developers can then walk you through the process. But for any organisation with a minimum of IT know-how, really getting connected is fairly straightforward. I think we have probably over 20 organisations connected now, and it's fairly easy to do. So please contact me. I'll put you in touch with the developers. They'll provide you with all of the documentation, and then you go from there.
Okay, I think you've just answered my next question, but I'll ask it again. How many people have connected to the platform in the past? I guess when they're talking about the platform, they're talking about the previous platforms, the ClearTech portal and Japan Power portal. And how has this process been for them?
Yeah, so as I said, I think probably approximately 20 or so organisations are connected. It's probably worth mentioning as well that the API connections work for, they cover all of the previous platforms and will be identical for Touchpoint as the new platform. So I just want to reiterate that again, that those connections will stay in place. The process varies a little bit from organisation to organisation. Obviously, people have different back office systems, they have different security protocols. So on the whole, I would say it is straightforward, it is quite smooth. Obviously, it takes a different amount of time for each organisation, but generally, it's not a difficult process.
Okay, thanks for that, Rich. Again, I think you've just answered the next question. I already have a connection to the ClearTech platform. Will I need to redo this for Touchpoint?
No, absolutely not. So, yeah.
Perfect. Are other functions possible via API other than trade capture?
Yes, they are. I mean, what I presented today were use cases for people that are already connected to the platform. It would be possible to perform other types of functions through those connections. If that's something that you're interested in, I would say, again, contact me. We can arrange a call with the developers and then we can talk through those. But obviously then we would be getting into fairly specific use cases, so they'd be different for every organisation. But yes, we could do other things, and we're keen, of course, to look at what else can be done, always trying to add a bit of efficiency to the workflow.
Great stuff. This is a question that came in to me earlier this week. I believe that the person had been on EXTV and watched the trade registration webinar. When it comes to trade registration, is it possible to set up a trade template?
So I wonder if that means in order that you can very quickly book a trade if you're doing lots of similar trades. So during the trade registration demo, we did show the copy trade function, which can be used to simply recopy a trade. And if you then need to only change a small number of details, let's say you're just changing one counterparty or just changing the price, then you could quickly rebook that trade. In the past, we did talk about the potential to create some templates. It's not something that's available in the platform today or at go live, it would be perfectly possible, I think, to do that. So if that's an area that people are interested in, again, please let us know, and it's something we can investigate. It's definitely something that we've discussed in the past, but no, not available today or at launch.
Okay, gotcha. These are some questions that I think we've covered in previous webinars, but it will do no harm to ask them again. Do I need special software or hardware installed to use Touchpoint?
No, and this is not only a question that comes up on most webinars, it comes up on all of the individual demos we do as well. And the answer is no. Touchpoint is delivered entirely over the internet, so you do not need to download any software or have any hardware installed in your office. If you do have any kind of URL restrictions within your business, then we can provide the URL beforehand so that they can be added to lists that your users can access. But no, generally it's very easy to get access to the platform. If you can launch an internet browser, then almost certainly you'll be able to connect to Touchpoint.
Okay. Can I have a view-only logon for certain users in our organisation?
Yes, you can. That's absolutely something that we can provide. It's something that a lot of users have done in the past. Just looking at people who may want to look from a back office perspective at what's happening. So yes, no problem there.
Okay, and this question, last time we're going to ask it, I guess, one more time for luck. How much does Touchpoint cost?
The $1 million question, or in this case, not. So the basic version of Touchpoint, everything that we've discussed and shown in all of the webinars, the trade registration functionality, the pre-trade risk management, all of those kind of things, they are all free to use for members of EEX, whether they're clearing members, brokers or NCMs, and the indirect clients, the clients of the clearing members of EEX. So no, not the $1 million question, free to use in its basic version, covering all those functions.
Perfect. How do I get access to the system?
So the best way to do that is to contact the team in Singapore. They will help you through that, and depending on whether you're an existing user or your organization is an existing user or you're a brand new organization to the platform, there'll be a slightly different process, but they can talk you through all of that, provide you all of the necessary forms and paperwork that you need to do. It is quite a light touch and easy process, but contact them in the first instance and they'll start getting you through it.
Thanks for that, Rich. Is there a test platform for getting familiar with Touchpoint?
It is possible that in some scenarios we could provide organizations with a sort of UAT environment. It's not something that everybody wants or needs. So again, I would say, contact me directly if that's something that you do want, and we'll work out getting something organized for you. But yes, it is a possibility.
Okay. Will Touchpoint work on any browser?
Yes, it works on all of the main, most popular browsers.
Thank you for that. How far back will my trades remain on Touchpoint?
So the history in the platform will be the history of all the trades that have been through it. So certainly there'll be a full trade history on there.
Thank you. And final question for now. Am I able to arrange a direct demo of all the features in Touchpoint?
Yes, absolutely. And we've been doing this quite a lot, as you can probably imagine, over the last few weeks. So we can look at the system in general, we can deep dive into any particular point of it, and we can cover any specific use cases you have. You can, of course, watch the demos in the webinar, but if you have more specific questions, then we're very happy to do that for you. So just contact me and we'll get something organised where you can have a one-to-one demo of the platform and an opportunity to ask any questions that you want.
Okay, I think, yep, that's all the questions done. So thanks very much for that, Rich. And of course, thanks for everybody for the questions. Thank you for joining today. we really hope that you found today's session, and indeed all the sessions over the past few weeks, beneficial. As Richard said, a recording of today's webinar will be available from tomorrow via EEX TV, EEX Group's YouTube channel, and there you can also find all the previous Touchpoint webinars there too. I'm going to stop there because one more question has just come in and we've got some time.
Okay.
Here we go. What are the support hours for Touchpoint?
Oh, okay. So the team that run the platform in Singapore, they are there during the Asian day and the European day as well. So they cover all of the opening hours of the exchange, but also before that as well during the Asia time zone. So it's not a 24/7 service, but they are there 16 or 18/5, and certainly, as I say, they cover all of the trading hours of the exchange.
Fantastic, thanks, Rich. The last point I just wanted to make, Rich has also made it earlier. As we mentioned last week, as Rich has mentioned, Touchpoint will officially launch next Thursday, the 8th of September, at the Ned Hotel in London. And we'd really love it if you could join us to celebrate the birth of, the latest EEX Group baby. If you'd like to attend the launch and lunch which follows, then please reach out either to me directly or to Ashan via email. I'll make sure to put Ashan's contact details in the Q&A chat right now. That's it from me. I just want to thank everybody for today and for the past 4 weeks. All the best. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll hand over to Rich now for the closing comments.
Yeah, and I would just add my own thanks to everyone that's tuned into the webinars. We really hope that they've been informative and useful for you. If there is anything about the platform that you have questions on, anything that you want to see again, anything that you need, please do contact either myself or Ray or Michael. Let us know, and we'd be more than happy to help you in whatever way you need to get ready for the launch. So thanks again. Hope to see as many of you as possible next week, and goodbye for today.